Hi there. So we're back today and we're going to be making a recipe from Oh She Glows Every Day. It's a flourless peanut butter cookie. So it's gluten-free and it's vegan, and they're very good for being vegans. I usually don't tell people they're vegan because when people hear vegan, they don't usually like vegan stuff. I am going to put the recipe down below, but I'm doing 6 times the amount for this cookie because I have to make it for quite a few people. They're super delicious, soft. I think they're probably, out of all the ones I make, people's most liked. And they're also really good for being gluten-free too, because I generally don't love gluten-free stuff. I will let you know while I'm doing it what it is for 1 times recipe, but I will be telling you what I'm doing for 6 times. They usually make around 12 cookies, so that is why I'm multiplying it so many, because I have to make it for so many people. So I'm going to point you down and we're going to get started. All right, so I'm going to have 2 bowls to start. This one's going to be for the wet ingredients because it's smaller. This one's going to be for the dry ingredients. So we're going to start off, if you're doing 1 recipe, you're going to do 1 tablespoon of ground flax. Because I'm doing 6, I'm going to do 6 tablespoons of ground flaxseed. I just buy my ground flaxseed from Bulk Barn, so this is what it looks like. I'm just going to put it in the wet bowl, even though it's a dry ingredient. Next step is 3 tablespoons of water, and that's if you're doing 1 recipe. So I'm going to do 1 and 12 cups of water, I guess. So we'll do a full cup of water, 1.12 cups of water. I'll just do a little bit more. Whoopsie daisies. Put some of that water back. And then you're just going to stir this together and let it sit for just a little bit. Next, we're going to move on to unsweetened shredded coconut. So you do half a cup, but I'm going to do 3 cups. Again, I just go to Bulk Barn for mine. So this is just Bulk Barn coconut. You can get it from the grocery store, but I buy so much of it that I just usually get a bag of it. And I've done it with like the smaller coconut, and then there's also like bigger pieces of coconut, and I've done it with that too. I don't have a preference. I think maybe if I had to choose the smaller, just because it's easier to eat, I guess. I don't know. And then people think, for the most part, well, people sometimes don't like coconut. So I'd say if they think they don't like coconut, then they'll notice the coconut and think they might not like the cookie. But if it's smaller and they don't notice, then they might like the cookie. So here's an example. So this is like smaller pieces versus the bigger pieces. You can tell. Next, we're gonna do rolled oats. So you're gonna wanna do gluten-free if you're gluten-free, and if you're not gluten-free, you can do whatever type of rolled oats you want. Mine are from Bulk Barn again, just because I go through so much of them. I buy lots of bags of them. And you're gonna do 3 cups, but if you're only doing 1, you're gonna do half a cup. Next up is half a cup of brown sugar, or if you're doing 6 times, then you're gonna do 3 cups of brown sugar. It's nice for the recipe because most of the stuff is like the same amount. Well, for the, I think, peanut butter, coconut, oats, and the brown sugar. So 3 cups of packed brown sugar. I honestly don't pack it. And I also like to do less sugar and stuff in general. So it's okay that I don't pack it. And it turns out fine still. Next, we're doing baking powder, not soda, powder. So you'd either do 1 teaspoon or 6. So I'm just gonna give that a little stir for now. And then next we're gonna do half a teaspoon of sea salt, or we're gonna do 3 teaspoons of sea salt. So I'm doing 3. Just got our 3 teaspoons. I'm just gonna stir that again a little bit. It does get hard in this bowl, it's my biggest bowl, to stir together all the ingredients. So I just kind of stir it throughout a little bit. Then you're gonna do 1/4 a cup of chocolate chips, or 1.5 cups of chocolate chips. So we're doing 1.5 cups of chocolate chips. Whoa, that came out fast. I'm just using semi-sweet chocolate chips. That's what I usually go for. Semi-sweet or dark chocolate is what I generally do. Especially if they're vegan, then you wouldn't want to do milk chocolate chips. So next you're gonna go back to the wet ingredient bowl, and we're gonna do half a cup of peanut butter, or 3 cups. So if it is 3 cups, I just do a full container of 750 grams of peanut butter. And I always use natural peanut butter, and I do smooth. So I don't ever use like the one with the bears on it, Kraft or whatever. This one's not sweetened at all. And I never tried it with not natural peanut butter before, because that's all I ever have in the house. But I know somebody at my work did ask for the recipe and they tried it. And they did it with like the Kraft peanut butter with the little bears on it, where it's sweetened. And they were asking me why their cookies turned out like they did the cookie balls and then it just turned out like as a pan of cookie instead of individual cookies. It all kind of formed into one thing. And the only thing I could think of was the peanut butter. I'm not sure if that is actually it or she did something different. Other than that, I have never made them to find out that way. So that was my guess, but it could not be true. I don't want to lead you wrong in case that wasn't the situation. So we're just gonna stir this together. And then you're gonna wanna put in a teaspoon of pure vanilla extract, or you could do 6 teaspoons. So I do use the pure vanilla extract. I buy this big boy from Costco. 2, 4, 6, 8. Who do we appreciate your mama? Next step is 2 tablespoons of pure maple syrup. I'm going to do 3/4 of a cup of maple syrup. So I just buy Irresistible maple syrup. I buy the dark one. Now we're just gonna stir these together until it's real nice and smooth. You're gonna take your dry ingredients and you're gonna just pour your wet into your dry. And this part does make my arm sore trying to mix this all together because the wet ingredients are kind of thicker. It's a little tricky to mix together. So you're gonna wanna preset the oven to 350 degrees. I'm finished mixing the dough together. I'll show you what it kind of looks like. So here's the dough. It's sticky, very sticky. It actually makes really good raw cookie dough that you can eat because it's vegan, so there's no ingredients that would be bad for you. I like to make my own ice cream. So I either do it with a Ninja Creamy with protein powder, or I do it with like frozen bananas. And if you want raw cookie dough in it, this is kind of perfect. So you can either cook the cookies and then put them in, or sometimes I'll just do little clumps on a cookie sheet, like a tiny one, and I'll stick it in the freezer and let those freeze and then keep them for a later time and throw them in my ice cream, since I do love myself some ice cream. So you're going to need a cookie scoop. I think it's a 2 tablespoon cookie scoop. That's what I said in one video, and I'm gonna keep going with the 2 tablespoons. Or you can just use a spoon. You don't need a cookie scoop, but this is totally life-changing. Didn't have one forever until like 2 years ago. And then you'll need a cookie tray with some parchment paper. So I'll just show you the scooping. And then I also do the sea salt, flaky sea salt on top. And I love it with the salt. And like I've said in another video, ever since I've been using it, I don't not use it now. I mean, some people might not like it on, but I have cookie dough on my hands. So this is what it looks like. It's super chunky because I know before when I didn't have flaky sea salt, I just kind of use normal salt and sprinkle it on top. It's so not the same, but you could do that if you wanted the salt. I'm just gonna point you down so you can check out what we're doing. So these cookies do spread a bit. So for as large of a tray that this is, I'm gonna give them quite a bit of room. I probably could fit 4 across, but playing it safe. Just kidding, I think I am gonna do 4 across after all. We'll spread them out a little nicer. You are gonna want to flatten them down just a tiny bit. You don't have to squish them majorly, but just to maybe also kind of get an idea of where they'll end up. I'm just gonna go rinse off my hands because these are incredibly sticky, and then I'm gonna put the salt on top. All right, so for this next step, we're just gonna take the salt. I usually, well, my hands are wet, let me dry them first. I usually use my fingers and I take a pinch of it and I kind of squish it a little in between my fingers just so the salt breaks up a bit. I don't put on a ton of salt, just a little sprinkle. And the cookies will spread, so I just try to get the salt like kind of all over the surface of the cookie, not just sticking to the middle of it. So once the oven is done preheating, I'm just gonna pop these in for 12 to 14 minutes. I usually do 10 minutes and I try, if I'm around, to rotate the pan. You don't have to. I don't know if it really makes a difference, but I just try to do that between. So like I'll put it in for 5, rotate it, do 5, and then check on the cookies. And usually when I'm checking, I'll kind of just, because they are a very soft cookie, so I'll take the parchment paper and I'll just kind of flip up the bottom of the cookie with my hand and try to look at the bottom of the cookie to judge whether it's done or not. These cookies are awesome, frozen too. So I'm actually making these right now just because I have time, and they're not for until next week and then the week after for somebody else. But they freeze super well. So once they de-thaw and everything, they're still just as good. And I love a cookie with a hard chocolate chip, so they're even better, I find. I just took the cookies out of the oven. They're in there for closer to 14 minutes, maybe even 15. So this is what they look like when they're all done. I have to let them sit here for a bit, so they're a little bit browned on the top. The bottom of them, let's see if I could flip one right now to show you. Get a spatula. Yeah, they're super soft right now. This is what the bottom of them looks like. It's kind of falling apart because I need to let them sit for a little bit longer. And that's it. I'm gonna let them sit for probably 10 minutes and then I'll put them off the pan onto a cookie rack and let them cool. So when I did 6 times for the recipe, I think it's gonna make a bit over 60 cookies in the end. I'd say we'll go with around 60 or a bit more than that. Anyway, thanks for watching. Have a good day.